Are you one of those simmers who keeps hopping between saves after 1 or 2 generations and discarding your old saves the second the gameplay gets a little bit stale? Do you envy those who can keep a save going for 10 plus generations? Then this video is for you. Hi, my name is Tani and welcome to my channel. Today I'll be sharing some tips that help me to keep myself from getting bored with a legacy save and tips on how to finish a legacy challenge.
From one lady to another lady.
I also want to point out that although I myself am predominantly a Sims 3 player, these tips are replicable across all Sims games and you can definitely emulate them in whichever game you enjoy the most. Now let's get into the video. Tip number 1. Relax or tighten the rules. The thought of finishing a legacy challenge can be so daunting, and at the end of the day there are so many legacy challenges with different rules and it can feel very restrictive to have to closely follow the rules to each of these. So, if you don't like the idea of too many rules, why not relax them a little bit? For example, I myself never follow the rules too strictly, and my biggest issue is the rule where you have to stay living on the same lot forever. So I don't follow that rule. I let my Sims move around to different lots and even different worlds. So if you need to decide in order to keep yourself interested in your gameplay to not follow certain rules, then who cares? Don't follow the rules. The real ultimate objective here is to reach 10 generations anyway, and have fun while doing it. On the flip side, if your playstyle is normally cheats galore, maybe try to limit yourself and follow the rules to allow yourself to be challenged a bit more and in a way that you haven't really played before. Tip number 2. Randomize traits. It can be super tempting to make your Sims picture perfect with perfect traits, but that can get super boring because it can get super repetitive. So why not try randomizing your Sims traits as they are born into your legacy family? This is something that can lead to interesting combinations that you never would have thought of and can challenge you to think of new storylines and ways to play that you've never ever explored before. Which brings me to my next point. Tip number 3. Explore aspects of the game that you've not tried in a while or ever. I make it a point when I'm selecting an heir to decide to focus on whichever child has traits or other features that allow me to focus on an aspect of the game, be it a skill, a career, an aspiration, or a lifetime wish, or a combination of these that I've not explored in a while or ever. This then becomes the focus of that generation gameplay-wise, allowing a real immersion in exploring that aspect of gameplay, which in turn makes me excited to play each generation. You can even plan this ahead for each generation if that suits you better and then play accordingly. And finally, tip number 4, and this might be my favorite way to play a legacy challenge: start all over. It's highly inevitable that over time your Sims begin to amass more and more wealth, and if you're like me, you might get a little bit bored of this after a while. If you know me at all, I really love these struggle storylines, the rags to riches kind of gameplay. I love having my Sims live in horrible conditions and struggle to pay their bills. So this is something that I did in my Sinclair legacy that I had in The Sims 4, where once I hit generation 10, my Sims were high society multi-millionaires and had more money than they knew what to do with it.
Look at me, I'm rich! I'm so f***ing rich, screw you!
So my heir for generation 10 became an evil criminal who embezzled her family's fortune and then lost all of it through gambling and her criminal activities, meaning the family's wealth went from millions to zero and they had to start over. This was such a fun way to play because I was at generation 10 and I was starting all over, and building that empire back up but with the same family was so much fun. It also allowed for some really interesting storylines and gameplay ideas regarding not only the family's lineage and their wealth financially, but also in terms of their social standing and how to build back up to that. And obviously, you don't have to be at generation 10 to do this. If you're at generation 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and you find yourself getting a little bit bored of that save, why not try this? Why not start literally all over? It's a really fun way to play, at least in my opinion, and I definitely recommend it to anyone who likes to struggle in The Sims a little bit and enjoys that kind of gameplay. So, that concludes my 4 tips on how to finish a legacy challenge. And if you have any tips of your own that I didn't mention, please leave them down below in the comments. I always love hearing about how other people like to play the game. Anyway, that's it from me today. I hope you guys have a lovely morning, afternoon, or evening wherever you are in the world, and I will see you next time. Bye!